Breaking news. JLR investigates. Hello, hello, hello. Come on in. Come on in. We are going to talk about this individual right here. This individual is in some big, big trouble with the law. I titled this video, Copycat Arrested. Yes, folks, we have a potential copycat or someone that was using the same phrase that we've been hearing a lot about, deny, defend, depose. Someone that used a similar phrase towards the insurance company and got arrested. We're talking about this individual right here, 42-year-old Brianna Boston. Brianna Boston. And she's in some big trouble. And out of all the places you would sit there and make a threat towards, Polk County is not the place to be. Polk County is not the place to commit crimes. Trust me, in Polk County, though she's charged in local by the local police, Lakeland Police, not Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd. Because when I saw this come across, I was like, oh my God, Polk County. Polk County. So what this woman did, right? This is we titled this woman Copycat, right? Because what she did, folks, is she's sitting in jail right now. She's sitting in jail, the Polk County Jail. Supposedly, she called Blue Cross Blue Shield and basically was mad because they denied a claim. And when they denied her claim, she says, delay, deny, depose, you people are next. That's what she said to the insurance people. Now, in this day and climate, considering what has been going on in New York with the Luigi case, that's not the right thing to say. So she's actually charged with a terroristic threat, but it's a more serious charge that could land her in prison for 15 years. They're actually charging her with a charge as an act of terrorism. She's charged with a terrorism type charge. It's actually the charge itself. It is a charge called, where is it at? Where is that? I have it here. It's a certain charge that it is, but it also, in reference to making threats towards a mass shooting. She's in big trouble. Yeah. Threats to conduct a mass shooting or an act of terrorism. That's what she's charged with. Now, I knew about this yesterday. We've been covering other cases, so I figured, we'll just come on and talk about her. We'll talk about Luigi a little bit. Got some more information about Luigi. So in reference to this woman here, I think the irony is so ironic, right? It's similar to the situation in a sense of Mr. Luigi, why Mr. Luigi committed the crime in New York in reference to United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Luigi, as we discussed, and it is now being reported by many mainstream outlets, he comes from a life of privileged, silver spoon in his mouth, wealth, lots of wealth. Luigi comes from an industry where his own family profits off the medical industry. His own family has made tens and tens of millions by, having assisted living homes, which bills Medicaid and Medicare, and they're receiving a lot of money. So for Luigi to do this act on Mr. Brian Thompson, I'm very perplexed. And, he being championed around as some sort of folk hero is ridiculous considering that Luigi himself comes from a life of privilege, right? So whether that support remains, I don't know. He gets a lot of support right now. There's still a lot of people, copycat type threats. People are making a lot of threats out there, right, lately, in the last few days. People have been calling the Altoona Police Department, making threats. People have been calling the McDonald's, making threats. The McDonald's where Luigi has been, was apprehended, Altoona, Pennsylvania. Now you have this woman here. So she did something similar. Of course, she's watching the news. She knows about this case because she used the exact same terms, right? Just basically the same, right? Deny, defend, depose. I think she said delay, deny, depose. So she used it a little bit different, but it's in reference to that book that we've been speaking about. So she calls Blue Cross Blue Shield and supposedly has a claim They deny it, and then she uses that term. Of course, Blue Cross Blue Shield is going to do the most responsible thing you can possibly do and most logical thing you could do considering the climate that we're in right now. They called the police. Of course, they called the police. Doot, 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 doot. I received, this is Blue Cross Blue Shield. We received a threat from this woman identified as 42-year-old Brianna Boston. So police go out to her house, and she actually admits what she did, right? But she says she doesn't have a gun. She doesn't, she's not a threat. Nevertheless, she gets arrested. She's a mother of 3. She has a husband. But what's so interesting about this case is, one, a bunch of ignorant people that I see online supporting her. Oh, that's freedom of speech. They're going after a mother of 3 for just expressing her opinion and blah, 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 blah. And that's fine. That's fine. But people don't realize that this individual herself looks like she also herself comes from a life of privilege, just like Luigi. So herself, she's a radiologist technician. She has a license as a radiologist technician. She lives in a $450,000 home with her husband Daniel in Lakeland, right? Her in-laws, the Bostons, her in-laws operate a radiology service, and the family profits off claims. So this could all be not about her getting claims for herself that got denied, but denied claims in reference to the job in general. But it's just so ironic that some of these people are gravitating towards these individuals that clearly have it better than most people in their lifetimes. I just want to say that clear because there's people saying, oh, I want to donate commissary to her commissary account, and I want to help her in a defense fund and all types of weird stuff. But people never, ever, ever, ever do backgrounds on these individuals that get called up and understand the backstories and histories. Now, maybe she did have a claim that got denied, maybe, but she's from a family of wealth. Her in-laws have multiple properties themselves all across the state of Florida and operate a radiology service. So she's part of the healthcare herself. She makes money through the insurance companies. That's how that industry works. So it's just like, oh, okay, yeah. It's so funny. I'm just shocked and awe. A lot of times when these people come out without even knowing the facts, these people just start saying, I'm going to support this person, or this is an oppressed mother and everything like that. No, she was greedy and she made a stupid choice, a reckless choice, and it was a clear threat, what she said. It was a clear threat. I think her bond is $100,000. Yeah, $100,000. And guess what, folks? Her home is worth almost 4 times that amount, if not more. 4 times the amount of her home is worth at the bond at $100K. So guess what, folks? All you people donating and wasting your money donating to her, she's going to bond out by posting up her home. That's what's going to happen. And you just lost out on your money. So, hey, it's your money, your choice, right? Your money, your choice. Yeah, she's getting some support out there from people. People just, I never understand these things when people get arrested and then they just gravitate towards someone immediately off emotion without understanding the facts of the case. It's ridiculous. Personally, it's ridiculous. But hey, do you? It's a free country, just like it's a free country to express my opinion on JLR Investigates.
And this evening, a Lakeland woman is behind bars accused of making threats to an insurance company over the phone. The FBI says 42-year-old Brianna Boston used the phrase delay, deny, and depose in an outburst while speaking with a Blue Cross Blue Shield agent.
Yeah, this is similar to the phrase police found on evidence at the scene of the insurance CEO's murder in Tampa Bay. Zaduria Chumba live with us in studio this evening. Tell us what we've learned so far.
So those words found last week on the bullet casing in Brian Thompson's murder, and they're considered very serious. Now, tonight, Brianna Boston is learning a hard lesson after investigators say she used those very exact words during a phone call. Now, according to an affidavit from Lakeland Police, Boston made the threats on December 10 after being denied medical insurance claims. Now, the document quotes Boston as saying, delay, deny, depose. You people are next. to an agent on the phone just before the call ended. Now, Blue Cross and Blue Shield was alerted, or rather alerted the FBI. They in turn contacted Lakeland police, and Boston was subsequently arrested. She now faces charges of written threats to conduct a mass shooting or an act of terrorism. Now, in court today, the state requested elevated bond and very strict pretrial release conditions. Boston's attorney said the words from the mom of three with no prior convictions should not be taken seriously, as she doesn't own or have access to firearms. But the judge was not lenient.
There is probable cause for the charge. The charge is written threat to kill or injure, conduct a mass shooting, or an act of terrorism. That's a second-degree felony, punished by 15 years in Florida State Prison. I do find that the bond of $100,000 is appropriate, considering the status of our country at this point.
While Boston may not have access to weapons, there are concerns about online rhetoric and copycats targeting other healthcare CEOs and business leaders. Now, here's what NYPD's Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism said about the issue, and it's a sentiment shared by law enforcement leaders.
There are also posters that we've seen online and in New York with various CEOs' pictures on them. These are perceived threats, and it is important for everybody to know that we will take these threats very seriously.
Under Florida law, penalties for making such threats can land you in prison for 15 years if convicted. For now, the judge says if Boston meets her bond, she'll remain on restricted house arrest with an ankle monitor. She also must have no contact with any Blue Cross Blue Shield staff, whether in person or electronically. In studio, Aduria Chumba, 10 Tampa Bay.
What an idiot. What a complete idiot. A radiologist that profits off the healthcare industry, that's involved in that, wants to be a copycat. Now, she's claiming, her lawyer's claiming, oh, well, she doesn't have no gun. She couldn't carry out her threat. I mean, anyone can obtain a gun. We don't know the mindset. Only an idiot would sit there and say that after this stuff has been all over the news. And for her attorney to maybe possibly argue that this is freedom of speech and freedom of expression is absolutely ridiculous. You say those terms that clearly have been put out all over the place in reference to what happened to in New York City, and say you are next. Yeah, that's a threat. That's a threat. It's almost like you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. It's not free. It's not freedom of speech, especially if we get the context. Especially if that recorded call. Well, there was a recorded call. First off, it was a recorded call. So law enforcement can understand by listening to the tone of what's going on and have a, an idea whether it was just talk or rhetoric or actually a threat. And they went and arrested her. So go figure. They have something on her. Who is she? Is she a sympathizer to Mr. Luigi? Is she one of these fangirls? Is she one of these fangirls that supports what Luigi did? Is she an anti-health care system herself, even though she works in the healthcare system? Oh, the irony. Oh, the irony. Now, $100,000 bond, again, she'll post it. She'll post it. She'll be out in a day or two because she's going to post her $450,000 house as collateral. That's how it works in Florida. So all the people that have been donating to her, have fun. You could have donated your money to homeless people and people really in need, not idiots like this that make stupid decisions. Now, will she get 15 years in prison? No, I don't think she should get 15 years in prison. But I definitely think there has to be some sort of accountability here. Anger management, impulse control, mental health evaluation. I do feel like some jail time is appropriate. I don't even think more than a year in jail. More than a year would be appropriate here. So, yeah, she might have an argument. She might have an argument for mitigating. She has zero criminal record. She's not in the system at all. I can't even find a Facebook profile on her. This is the only picture I know of her. Briana. But why would she do this? Why would she do this? Is this corporate greed where she wants money in her pocket because she's a radiologist and her own family owns a radiology? And, she's just ticked off at the industry in general because of the delay in claims, the delay in money in claims. Polk County, don't mess with Polk County at all. Do not mess with Polk County. Play one more clip of her. We'll keep the conversation going. She was in court. Let me get this clip right here and share like a snippet of her hearing.
The nature of the threats, we would also be asking for GPS with house arrest conditions to protect the community.
With her head in her hands, Brianna Boston learned she would be held in jail on $100,000 bond. The Polk County judge adding the bond was appropriate given the, quote, status of our country.
It's not like she's a child. She's 42 years old, so we're not dealing with a child here. She should certainly know better.
Lakeland Police Chief Sam Taylor says his department was contacted by the FBI Tuesday. Authorities say in a recorded phone call about a denied insurance claim, Boston told a Blue Cross Blue Shield employee, quote, delay, deny, depose. You people are next, end quote. The language matches the words police say were written on the shell casings found at the United Healthcare CEO's murder scene in New York City.
We will take this very seriously, and we will put you in jail if you do something like this. It is not a joke.
According to Boston's affidavit, the mother of three told police she did not own firearms and was not a danger to anyone. But she added, healthcare companies played games and deserved karma because they are evil. Similar to the accused shooter in Manhattan, Boston is getting support online from people who say that she was just sharing her opinion and should be protected by the First Amendment, but police do not see it that way. She's facing a second-degree felony of written threat to kill or injure, conduct a mass shooting, or an act of terrorism, a serious charge that she could end up in prison for 15 years. Reporting live in Lakeland, I'm
So she is getting support online. I always just sit back and I've been following the Sebastian Rogers case and all that craziness has been happening in the last couple months. I just sit back and I just hold my tongue because it's just frauds and scams and everything like that, and just naive, ignorant people that it's just shocking. It's shocking. And sometimes when these certain things come out, and people that don't even know the facts or nothing and just grab onto what calls, and it's ridiculous. Look at this. This woman has money. This woman comes from a family of money, and she will be posting bond. For people to say, well, she has to sit in jail and everything. She'll be out on bond. She has money. Her family has lots and lots of money. Her family has lots and lots of money. Look at this. Look at this. Brianna Boston. Bail in books about a legit GoFundMe for her bail, but mail soups and support can be sent. This is somebody using her prison ID number, linking the Access Correction site, right, to donate her some soups and support. That's funny. Look at this. If you want to donate to her commissary, Florida, Polk County, Brianna Boston, donate to her commissary. Free Brianna, free Brianna. It's ridiculous. These people are crazy, man. I don't know if they're on shrooms themselves or they have mental health issues themselves or what. I mean, this is not somebody you would gravitate towards, man. Only an idiot. Only an idiot. Yeah, she's charged with $100K. $100K, folks. $100K. Look at that. That's her charge. 836-10 or 836.10.2b. Written threat to KILL or injured, conduct a mass shooting or act of terrorism charge by the Lakeland Police Department. $100,000. Should have been $1 million. They should have. You know what's crazy? It's like, you know what they did? I don't know if people remember this, though. When there's national tragedies and everything like that, and there's someone that does something similar right after a tragedy, they're going to make an example of those people. You remember Nicholas Cruz's brother or half-brother? Remember after that terrible tragedy down there at Marjorie Douglas, the school down there in Florida with Nicholas Cruz in Parkland? Well, his brother was simply just walking on the property of the school after it happened, and they hit him up with I think it was over $1 million trespass charge, and they put his bond so freaking high, right? Eventually got out, right? And he didn't get much time at all for that. But the point is, you got to take these things seriously. So think about this. It's the Lakeland police get a call from the FBI to look into her. So Of course, the FBI is going to take all threats seriously, considering the massive support that Mr. Luigi has from these idiots, right? That are supporting him all across the country. So if something else pops up, yeah, the FBI is going to be looking for potential copycats. And they're going to take any type of threat seriously. And now they're going to make an example of her. And they should, because this could be a deterrent. Because if you just reward bad behavior, then what's going to be? Every CEO is going to start getting calls saying deny, defend, depose, or delay, deny, depend, or whatever the phrase is. There's many different ways you say it, right? She said it a little bit different than what Luigi allegedly said. When I say allegedly, Luigi did this crime. Don't get it twisted. Presumption of innocence. You kidding me? He left a treasure trove of evidence, folks. He left so much evidence across the board. This is a slam dunk case with Luigi. Briana. So, yeah, I don't think she should get 15 years in jail and prison. She won't get 15 years. She won't get 15 years, but she's going to do some time. And this is also an example for other people. Do not be like Briana. Let's get Magnolia in the chat and talk a little bit. And we're going to talk a little bit about what else is going on. What else is going on in the Luigi? Another day, new clues have been revealed. Apparently, NYPD is saying that Luigi kind of slipped through the cracks a different way that we did not know about. Hello, Magnolia.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning. How are you?
Good.
All right. So, hold on. I must be doing something wrong. Are you there, Magnolia? Hello. Resume call. I don't know. I'm all wacky this morning. We'll just call her right back. Let's do this over and call her right back. I was calling her and recalling her and everything like that. Hello, Magnolia.
Are you there?
Yes,
Okay.
here. All right, we're here. All right, real quickly, Magnolia, with Miss Briana here. Your take real quickly on this individual. I'm glad a lot of people are watching, because the more people that watch, it will get back to her and people, that have any intent to do stupid stuff like she does. It's a deterrent. Hopefully we're deterring people and shaming the people that do these stupid, ridiculous acts so they don't do these acts. Your thoughts on this?
I think we should all be concerned with the extreme misinterpretation of the First Amendment in this country, because the fact that you could have so many people claiming that this is free speech is mind-blowing. Like, I don't know what they're teaching in schools anymore. I don't know what's happening. But just the fact that people think they can say or do whatever they want because they have the First Amendment, that's not how it works. So I'm not really sure what happened in our schools over the last few decades where these people learn this stuff from, but it's really insane. I mean, free speech, someone else earlier in the chat said it perfectly. Free speech doesn't mean free from consequences. Yeah, you're free to say whatever you want, and the police are free to arrest you. So, it's a two-way street. You can't sit here and threaten violence against people. I mean, I think this woman thought she was just being cool and edgy and hip, emulating pepperoni Mangione or whatever, with her little phrase and saying, "You people are next." I think she probably just thought, she probably is like emboldened. I think a lot of people feel like they're emboldened to kind of copy what Luigi's message is out there. So I think she probably just thought she was being cool, edgy. She's just following the trend or whatever. But yeah, the whole thing's ridiculous. I guess she had some claims that were denied, and that's why she was on the call with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and she decided to issue a threat at the end of that call. So, she's facing the consequences. She looks very surprised that she's being held accountable. She's in court with her head in her
crying.
Hands, like
I'm a mother of three. I have no criminal record.
All these people online are like, "Free Briana." The whole thing is just a mess. It's a mess, and I hope this doesn't become a trend, but I'm afraid that it's going to.
Lisa sent you a comment, Magnolia, in the chat. Yellow comment. Appreciate that, Lisa. I don't know if you want to read it. It's directed towards you, Magnolia. It's directed towards you in the chat. I'm lucky to totally appreciate you, Magnolia's coverage. Oh, you and Magnolia's. I guess it's me too. Always. I'm lucky to totally appreciate you, Magnolia's coverage as always. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for the support. Okay, so Magnolia, you there? Oh, she says I can't.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Are you there? Uh-oh. We'll have to call you back. I'll call you right back, Magnolia. I'll call her right back. I told you we were having technical difficulties this morning. Let's try again. First, you don't succeed. Dust yourself off and try again. Dust yourself off and try again. Hello.
Hello?
Is that better?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you at all before.
Oh, maybe it's the drones and the UFOs out
I
there
was just
messing with
thinking
our
that.
technology. Maybe it's the drones in the sky.
I was just thinking that. I was like, what if it's the drones?
Yo, the drone stuff's pretty crazy, Magnolia. We're gonna do another live today talking more about the drones because some analysts think that this could be some sort of possible reconnaissance for a future drone attack, which is like really crazy because they're saying some of the foreign countries use drones to attack. So it's that's going to be a wild thing that I've been looking in, and there's been doing press conferences. This drone stuff's not going away. But in the meantime, we're still continuing to, do topics on Luigi, the threats, the copycats. One thing I found interesting about this woman here is that, she was denied claims, or she's claims. But again, my wondering, based off her family's being involved in the healthcare industry and the radiology, I'm just wondering if she's being denied claims for her business and not her personally. For the business.
Yes.
She's a radiologist technician. That's what she does for a living. So I think a lot of people might be getting a little confused here, possibly.
Uh-huh.
Where the claims that she's calling is in reference to money that they receive by treating patients.
Well, one thing that I'm noticing too is that people don't seem to care about the details or the facts anymore.
No, they don't.
They just want to defend these people, and I was saying last night, I think with Luigi, Pepperoni Mangione, people kind of take his side, and it was like during those first 5 days of the manhunt, it was like he was built up to be this superhero, this anti-hero that America needed and all this kind of stuff. But, the reality just did not line up with that. The reality is that he is about as privileged as they come. His own family profits off of the medical industry, as does he.
His own family profits off pain and suffering. Pain and suffering. That's what his family profits off of. Let's be real.
Yeah, and so it's like it's just like reality really did not align with all the things that people had built up in their minds. And for whatever reason, people just can't let it go. They can't even just admit, this guy's a complete idiot. He's, he ruined his life for no reason. We were talking about yesterday, actually, this came out after our live yesterday, but Luigi stood to inherit millions from his grandmother's estate. So we know his grandfather passed away in 2008, and all of that, went to the wife, the grandmother, and she married Mangione. And so she, in her will, she had stipulated that she specifically would cut off any heirs that committed crimes, heinous crimes, or violent crimes. That was a stipulation in her will. She only passed away last year in 2023. So the money all went into a trust. There's estimates that it's over $100 million that we're talking about here. This is just his grandmother's estate. This doesn't even include his own family's wealth that they've built themselves.
Country clubs, assisted livings, healthcare industry. They own everything. They're the mafia of Baltimore. They're probably the richest Italians in Baltimore, probably, right? I'm assuming he's Italian.
Yeah, I mean, so, reality is that this guy comes from pretty much as privileged a background as you could get in this country. He's got a massive family with lots of money, lots of connections, politically connected even. And he just completely threw his life away for no reason. By the way, we have never seen evidence yet that Luigi Mangione ever had any personal gripe with insurance companies.
No evidence. None.
There's no evidence that he ever even had United Healthcare insurance. He had Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance, who paid for his testing and paid for his procedures and some of these things. So, it's just this whole narrative, I think, was built up where, you can't push people this far. And, I've heard some politicians say, you can't just push people like this and expect nothing to happen. And it's like, okay, but what exactly is his personal gripe here? Like, what happened? They're trying to say that it's because of his back pain and all these other things. But, the more information that we get, and having had the same condition he has myself, I actually think now that the claims that he was suffering and chronic pain and all this he couldn't do things, blah, blah, blah. I think that kind of got overblown. And it sort of started with that guy who founded the community living space down in Hawaii. Where
RJ.
That guy, RJ, came on the news and kind of put out this narrative very early on when he got arrested. And so that narrative sort of just took off. But it's not really lining up anymore. So the stuff he said, it seemed to be, he was making these broad sweeping statements like, oh, he suffered all the time. We had to get a new mattress for him, and he even had a surfing accident, and he was suffering and pain and all these things. But, come to find out, last year, 2023, he had back surgery, and he said, out of his own mouth, Luigi said that the surgery was successful, and he didn't have to take pain pills anymore.
He said it out of his own mouth.
He said he knew he made the right decision to get the surgery within a couple days of having the surgery because he no longer had to take pain pills. Okay, so that completely debunks this whole idea that he was running around in pain. Now, something else could have happened after that. We don't know. Much of the last year of Luigi's life is a mystery. We don't know what happened to him after the surgery and where he went beyond that. People were searching for him. His own family didn't know where he was. None of his friends. He withdrew from everything, to the point his family even hired a private investigator to look for him and eventually reported him missing. So there's a huge gap in time that we just don't know what happened to him. And it's just looking more and more like this is not, his motivation was not due to some personal grievance or a denial of a claim himself, but it's looking more like he went down rabbit holes about the insurance industry, the healthcare industry.
You think he was indoctrinated or misled by people?
It seems like he latched on to certain data that he came across that could be interpreted different ways. For example, in the manifesto, one of the things that he said was that the United States spends more money on healthcare than anyone else in the world. But that's because the United States is the richest country in the world, and so automatically we're going to consume more. So that's not even, it seems like he latched on to these little tidbits of information that he came across, and then he just went down these rabbit holes and somehow arrived at the conclusion that he needed to kill Brian Thompson from United Healthcare. So we just don't really know, like, what that path was, but what we do, I think we do know now, this is not an oppressed person. This is not someone who's been held down by the system. It's none of those things. It's not like, and it's almost an insult in a way, because there really are people who have lost everything because of medical bills. It's a real thing. And I think for someone to kind of take on this narrative for themselves and kind of do this deed for notoriety and infamy and all these things, it's an insult to people who actually have been through that. People go bankrupt all the time for medical bills. People, a lot of people in this country, if you miss one paycheck, you're really suffering. People live paycheck to paycheck. They need that money. And when they have bills, these medical bills, I mean, I'm sure everyone in the chat has experienced medical bills on some level. I mean, I think we've all had that experience early on in life where we take an ambulance to the hospital and we're shocked because we get a massive bill of thousands of dollars for the ambulance ride.
Well,
your insurance only covers a certain amount of it, and the next thing you know, you've got thousands and thousands of bills that you can't pay. And they harass you.
But
It goes on your
Magnolia,
credit. It ruins your credit. These are things that really happen to people. It never happened to him.
I take a more hardline position. This might offend some people, but I'm like, it's all up to us with personal responsibility. A lot of people do not live within their means. A lot of people do reckless spending. They don't know how to manage a budget money. So yeah, they live by paycheck to paycheck, whatever like that. But they sit down and have their priorities 100% wrong. They sit down there with a new car outside, and they can't even pay their bills, their electric or the water, because they mismanage their money wrong. When it comes to health, I think there's a lot of personal responsibility. I'm not saying everybody, but if you're going to sit all day and eat all the food in the world and smoke and do drugs and expect to get free health care, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with the people that cry that they're not getting health care, proper health care, when they have no personal responsibility on their own self. Now, I'm not saying everyone is like that, but I'm a hardliner when it comes to that kind of talk, because a lot of people that complain about the health care are sitting there just having bad lifestyles and bad habits. So why should the taxpayers pay that?
Well, I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but and however people arrive in the situation that they're in, the point is that there are a lot of people who have faced overwhelming medical bills that they can't afford because it's a shock. It normally comes as a shock, and I think people experienced that early on. For me, I experienced it when I had a car accident one time, like 25 years ago, and they took me to the hospital and everything, and I thought, well, I have insurance, it's fine, whatever. And the next thing I knew, I had thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of bills that my insurance wouldn't pay, and I was like, what? So I think a lot of times it comes as a shock because you can't predict things like that. Like, you can't predict emergency situations or emergency health problems, things like that. And so people are really taken aback by that. And so, but my point is, these things did not happen to Luigi Mangione.
No, matter of fact,
that we're talking about,
he has all the money in the world, where even if he had any type of surgery, life-threatening, any type of surgery, his family would have paid. They have money. They can afford it. They can afford that $100,000 operation. Easy. They're worth tens of millions of dollars, if not over $100 million. I believe the Mangione family is worth, in general, the family as a whole, through grandfather, through his parents, up through the chain of command, are worth over $100 million.
Oh, yeah, easily.
So a 100,000 surgery is nothing to them. So this guy has all the privilege in the world. If he feels adversely affected by the insurance company, it's not on him, because he can get anything he wants. He was provided everything. $40,000 a year in schooling he was provided.
Yeah. So, I think some of the narrative sort of got ahead of the facts early on in this case, and a lot of people can't let go of their original narrative that they had in their mind, which was that this guy was harmed in some way by insurance companies and he couldn't take it anymore. That was the narrative that was out there. And it's just not true. So we don't know what happened to him. We don't know where he was for those 6 months to 12 months, however long he was gone. He was gone. I think it was like almost a year. Actually,
people are making saying though he's making a statement that the insurance companies are thievery, right? Thievery. Well, his own family was stealing from Medicare and Medicaid. His own family got fined for stealing and overbilling. He's the thief.
Yeah.
His families are the thieves. His family are the thieves. They are.
So a lot of people who can't let go of the hero narrative in their head, now they've transferred. Now he's Robin Hood. now he's going after the rich who oppress the poor. So now he's Robin Hood.
People say now people are saying also in the chat without any evidence he hates his family. No, I don't think so. His family retained that attorney, I believe. The family retained his attorney, Thomas Dickey. His family's paying for his attorney. His mom reported him missing on the 17th or the 18th of November, around there, a week or so before he ventured off to New York. He was close to his mom. He was a mama's boy. Yeah,
I mean, I don't really know a lot about his relationship with his family. I would say, though, it seems like he might have had some issues with his family, just because you don't just go off the grid and ghost your entire family and everyone you know unless something happens. So
now you're entitled and selfish and mentally ill.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, he completely cut off all contact with his family. And so there may be more there that we just don't know yet. But for sure, something happened that caused him to completely ghost his whole family, and not just his family. It was everyone he knew. It was all of his friends. I saw a report where he was in Baltimore one time, and like a couple years ago, 2022, and he ran into like an old friend from school, and the friend from school said, even at that time, he seemed a bit different. He couldn't really put his finger on it, but there was something different about him. Even his voice was different. He said his voice sounded lower and more serious, and he kind of chalked it up to, well, he's older now, and maybe that's all it is or whatever. But it does seem like there was some sort of change in him and a lot of resentment. So I think that he may have actually built up resentment towards his family over time, and could have had grievances. Like we said yesterday, it's possible that he developed a distaste of the industry itself because of things that he saw from his own family. That's also possible. So all of those things are possible, but I think that the original narrative that he was suffering in chronic pain and he was denied coverage from United Healthcare, I think that's been debunked.
It's been debunked, folks. It's been debunked.
Going on here. There's something else going on here.
Well, let me call you right back, because I have a clip from the inspector of the NYPD, the lead investigator that's side by side with the commish of New York, and he's going Magnolia. He's going with the theory possibly of the back injury as a motive here. Like, I don't think that is, but that's where the angle they're going at about the back injury. Though, well, I'm also going to play another clip where witnesses that have been around him are saying they've seen no evidence of a back injury from him. None. So I'm going to play these two clips and I'll call you right back.
Okay.
All right, check this out. This is a new update. Also, folks, I just want to say something. New information has come out. Apparently, with this guy, remember, after the crime was committed on the morning of the 4th, right? He's on a bike, allegedly. Well, I think it's him, and, the authorities think it's him. Riding on a bike through Central Park, ditches the backpack, pops out on 77th on the Upper West Side, takes the bike a little bit more, goes to like 80-something in Columbus, gets in a taxi and goes up to Washington Heights to the station. And then authorities said they see this guy go into the bus station but not come out, assuming that he went on a bus from right there at the Greyhound and the public transit station right at the GW Bridge. Well, guess what? Authorities are now saying that when he went up to that bus station, he actually he played a game with the cops, a cat and mouse, and he actually went in the subway. He actually went some subway up there, and he escaped via the subway and looped himself back. He circled back. So that's interesting. We did not know that. That is new information that has been revealed. So let me play this clip right here. And then also they think that they theorize that his motivation was that back injury. I don't know about the back injury, and I'm not buying it. I'm not buying the back injury.
This morning, a detailed new look at how police say Luigi Mangione planned his escape from New York City after allegedly gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The NYPD says the trail went cold after he fled the crime scene on an e-bike into Central Park and ended up at a bus station uptown. Authorities now telling NBC News' Jonathan Dienst it appears he hopped on a subway and doubled back in an effort to throw the police off his trail. Police say Mangione also had thousands of dollars in his bag.
He was getting money from an ATM. Everything he did, he was paying for in cash.
Altoona police also recovered a gun that the NYPD says its crime lab has now matched to 3 shell casings left behind at the crime scene.
Cool.
But an ongoing mystery is how Mangione got the weapon.
The gun itself, it is a ghost gun. It is a receiver that comes from a gun manufacturer from parts. And then the gun was built up from a 3D printer.
Police say they're still searching for a possible motive. United Healthcare confirming Mangione was not insured by their health plan. But investigators continue to look into whether years of severe back problems and eventual surgery may have played a role.
He posted x-rays of screws being inserted into his spine. So the injury that he suffered was a life-changing, life-altering injury. And that's what may have put him on this path.
As the investigation ramps up in New York, Mangione sits in a maximum custody prison cell in Pennsylvania. His attorney filed a petition contesting his detention, arguing the state has not proven Mangione was in New York the day of the murder or provided probable cause that he was responsible for the crime.
In that wide-ranging interview, officials also expressing their continued concern about copycat violence in this case. We're also learning from the governor, Kathy Hochul, that she expects the Manhattan DA to officially indict Mangione, in her words, quote, any day now, and that would speed up the extradition process, Hoda.
All right, Stephanie Gosk for us there.
Ooh, a lot of treasure trove of information in that mix, right? Authorities think the back was the start of this. That set the ball in motion for his gripe with the healthcare industry. They said that the gun was a ghost gun that he used. Shell casings from the gun that he got caught with in Altoona, Pennsylvania, match at the crime scene. He's cooked there. He's cooked there. They also say that he went, apparently, I guess he got in a cab, went to the bus station, and went into the subway and doubled back to throw police off. They also say he was self-funded, more or less, or said that he was getting money from the ATMs, using cash for everything. Cash, 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 cash. Cash is king, folks. Cash, cash, cash. Yes. Trust fund child. A lot of money. Family has a lot of money. So, those are some things. And then his lawyers are like, there's no evidence. There's no evidence. Come on, man. Lawyers are ridiculous. Lawyers are just ridiculous. So they're hired mercenaries. They're hired mercenaries. Well, I actually think, the lawyer could be right, Mr. Dickey, of not seeing any evidence because he wasn't provided any evidence yet. They didn't give him the evidence yet. So he's just going off of, well, there could be evidence. I haven't seen the evidence. Therefore, there's no evidence. Well, yeah, there's no evidence until you get the evidence. And then you'll see the evidence and your client is cooked. But the back injury, I'm not so sure as, reasons why he did this. We expressed that, our feelings towards that. Here's another witness. On top of Mr. Luigi, to me, seems like he gets around quite well. He could walk around. He's kind of elusive. You've seen him getting out of the vehicles when he was incarcerated, when he was being taken out the courts. You see him. He's getting out on his own. He's not, going through any type of back pain at all. You see him on the films basically walking up to somebody and shooting them cold-blooded and then running off, seeing on an e-bike, riding a bike. If you have a back injury, can you ride an e-bike all like that and get away from the crime scene? I don't think he had a back injury. Plus, shirtless. He looks like a lot of the pictures that he has recently. He's out at the great outdoors, enjoying the nature and the life. I think he gets around and walk around, and I think his mobility is 100% spot on. I think it's 100% spot on, but we have a witness, folks. We have a witness that testified that she knows him and has done activities with him. I want to share that clip. I want to keep you guys informed because there's a lot of contradicting things, and we don't know what to believe. But, the evidence and the stuff is presented out there. You just have to kind of mash it through yourself and figure it out your own self. I've come to my own conclusion. What's your conclusion? What's your conclusion?
This morning, prosecutors in New York say they're taking a new step to build their case against Luigi Mangione. He's the man charged with killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson.
We're also learning new details about where Mangione was spotted days before his arrest. ABC's Andrew Dimbert reports.
Sources tell ABC News prosecutors in New York are now presenting evidence to a grand jury as they work to secure an indictment against Luigi Mangione. An indictment would strengthen the case for extradition to New York, which Mangione is fighting. He's behind bars in a Pennsylvania cell like this one, charged in the shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione, an Ivy League graduate from a prominent real estate family, allegedly wrote about his criticism of corporate America and the U.S. healthcare system. But the NYPD says there's no indication Mangione was ever a client of United Healthcare.
He's so good looking and young, and he's just spending his time in Hawaii for a few months.
This woman says she spent time with Mangione last year during her vacation in Hawaii, attending a book club and playing volleyball together. She says Mangione showed no signs of the severe back injury he once described as debilitating.
I would say he's a winner in everything. I mean, even in volleyball, he wanted to be the best. He always wanted to win. Book club, he wanted to be the one who actually read the book, who had the best answers and the questions for everything. So he's a winner all around.
A new report claims a San Francisco police officer recognized Mangione during the manhunt 4 days before his arrest at that McDonald's in Pennsylvania. The San Francisco Chronicle reports an officer recognized Mangione after his mother reported him missing in the area, and the officer alerted the FBI. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
Well, there's some new information there. There's an FBI, somebody out there in San Francisco recognized him based off his mom's police report to report him missing. That is new information I've never heard of. But he played volleyball. So if you got a back injury, add volleyball to the mix. He can play volleyball. Boom, volleyball. Boom, volleyball. Boom, jumping up, volleyball. If you got a back injury, you're not playing volleyball, folks. You're not playing volleyball with a severe back injury. You're not riding a bike across Central Park at full speed if you have a back injury. You're not walking in and out of a car, walking with easy without any signs of pain whatsoever if you have a crazy back injury. You're just not doing it, folks. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. You ain't fooling JLR Investigate. So maybe the authorities might have to go a different route as far as their theory because of his back. He's basically posted in his own words that his back surgery was a success, as Magnolia has said. Hello, Magnolia. Come on in, Magnolia. Come on back into the chat. Let's have a conversation. Ooh, it's ringing, and ringing. Hello.
Yeah.
All right. What's your take on that new report?
Wow, it's a miracle. He could play volleyball.
He could play volleyball, right?
Yeah. It's just crazy that this got so out of control. And I do really think, I'm putting it back on that guy again from Hawaii who came out so quickly to the media and said all these things about his back issues and whatever else. He's not running around riding an e-bike, walking miles, doing all this stuff, riding a bus 17 hours. You're not doing all that stuff if you're in back pain. I mean, come on.
Nope, not at all. You're not
That's
doing that
absurd.
stuff, folks, if you have a back pain. That actually prevents you from doing all that. Now, some people say, well, you can still do it if he has a back pain. He's just masking it or hiding it or dealing with it or just accepting it and just...
No, you don't. Because, again, I have the same condition he has. Do you see me? You've never seen me have a slippage before because it's been like 5.5 years since it's happened to me. But it's not something that you have all the time. It's not acute pain all the time. And, when it is acute pain from spondylolisthesis, you're not doing anything. You're not leaving your house. You're probably not leaving your bed. And you are probably laying around with heating pads. You're taking your medication. You're going to physical therapy. You're doing all these other things. When you have a slippage of your vertebrae, that is the only thing you're doing. That's the only thing you're focused on. You can't do anything else. And that's just the way it is with the condition that he has. But the other thing is, when he said he had the surgery that fused his bones together. So it's not even possible for him to have a slippage at this point because the bones are fused. So now there could have been another complication that came about from his surgery after the fact. But at first, when he first got the surgery, he said, "Oh, this was the best decision I could have made. Everything's great. I don't have to take pills anymore," and he's encouraging other people to have the surgery because it worked for him. Now, that's pretty much where we leave off, because we don't know what happened after that.
Is it possible that, his back surgery was fine, and then he starts getting indoctrinated with whatever rhetoric he's reading or whatever type of propaganda he's reading, and then try to incorporate that with his own back surgery and use that as an excuse?
Yeah, but
after the fact, oh yeah, I had a back injury, even though the back injury he stated on the record was a success, but oh yeah, they did that to me too. My back, when he's reading this propaganda stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is possible. So with the surgery that he had, the reason that I never considered the surgery is because I heard people's own testimony that had gone through the surgery. They experienced issues related to the surgery itself. It may have cured the issue of the vertebrae slipping out of place, but it led to them having other issues. And so I think that is still possible with Luigi. I think there could have been some further complication that came up because of the surgery, but we just don't know that. Now, the other thing that I found interesting, when I was talking about his friends didn't know where he was. His family was reaching out to friends, trying to figure out where he was. His friends kind of talked about his disappearance, and they just assumed that it was drugs.
Shrooms.
Psychedelics. They just thought, oh, it's probably drugs, and they just didn't really think anything past it. So, that tells me that it just reinforces that he was known to do certain drugs, things like that, and he had gone off to do psychedelics and different things. And I do think that some of the drugs he was taking, maybe a combination of drugs, a combination of various things, impacted his brain and the way he thinks. And he even said he had this brain fog that doctors had no answers for. He seemed to me, based on the New York Times reporting of his Reddit comments about his health, it actually seemed to me like he felt the brain fog was a far bigger issue than the back. Because he called the brain fog a life-halting situation. He considered it to disrupt his life. And so I think it's something more to do with that, and then also the combination of whatever drugs he was taking. And like you said, if he's like reading and he's hopped up on whatever and he's going down these rabbit holes and he's like, oh, these insurance CEOs, they're evil, visual snow. So some people have referred to it as visual snow. I don't know where that's coming from, but his own words were brain fog. And we've heard this before with Brian Koberger describing the issues with his brain, the visual snow, stuff like that. So I actually think that condition, whatever it is that was messing with his brain, is more of a factor than the back. I think the back stuff got completely overblown.
What's the Wizard of Oz? If I only had a brain. Dun, 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 dun. If he only had a brain. Speaking of brain fog, right? The dude, here's what I'm thinking. Was he on drugs at the time of the crime? The whole time.
Right.
And then also the fact that after he got brought back to the court the next day, he got arraigned that night without an attorney, and then he came back the next day and he had that outburst. Was that outburst a withdrawal of the drugs that he was on? Is he withdrawing from the drugs that he was on? Because I say that because this criminal here is the most stupidest criminal I've ever read about that left treasure troves of evidence. He had to be on drugs the whole time committing the crime. How in the world does he leave a burner phone behind? He's drinking water with it, drinking water and buying waters and not using his gloves or anything like that. He's using fake IDs and having the same fake IDs on him when he got arrested. The gun. He's seen all over the place. It seems to he's leaving bullets behind, fingerprints behind, DNA behind. He had to be on drugs when he committed this crime because it was so sloppy. He probably he might have been smart for his own good, but maybe did some drugs and went and had the courage to do this crime while he was on drugs. And sloppy case. Sloppy case on his part, not on police. Sloppy case on him. He left every clue imaginable out there for police to nail him, bury him. He's cooked.
Yeah. Well, and he was bebopping all over town, right?
On drugs. On drugs.
Going to Central Park.
I think on drugs.
Here, going there, going everywhere. Getting caught on every camera known to man in New York City.
Maybe he's on fentanyl because he's pacing back and forth. He just, now looking and knowing this guy after the fact, I've reviewed some of those footages of him, around the scene and stuff like that. He's clearly got that itch. He's clearly on something.
You think?
I do. Yeah. I think he's on some stuff.
Which clip do you mean? The one where he did the shooting?
He's just pacing that and the fact that he's pacing around New York City between the routes that they were sharing different things. They've showed small clips of him walking back and forth outside the hotel a little bit, the Hilton. Mm-hmm. He just looks like he's on something.
Yeah.
Like some drugs. I mean, the guy literally left a burner phone behind. That's just as bad as Brian Kohlberger leaving the knife sheath on a victim or under the victim at the crime scene. What an idiot. Kohlberger was probably on drugs too.
He blows Kohlberger out of the water, though, as far as stupid mistakes. I mean, it's just unreal.
News Nation got a reporter on not a reporter, a lawyer, a legal analyst. And the legal analyst is pretty much saying that this is a slam dunk case. Slam dunk. I couldn't even agree more. That's why I said yesterday, because you're gonna get some people on YouTube, some defense attorney YouTube channels that try to convince their audience that this guy's somehow innocent.
Well, I mean, some people, because we kind of interact with a lot of different people in the true crime world through different cases, and I have seen a lot of people that they're constantly talking about his due process and his rights can't be violated, and let's make sure the trial is legal and all these kind of things. But even Bob Mata, who we know from Defense Diaries, he is someone who pretty much he's a defense advocate, I would say. He's a due process advocate and all those things. But even Bob Mata said that his manifesto and his notebook writings are extremely damning evidence against him. So, I mean, it's, people can sit here and talk about all these other, this advocacy for his rights and all this type of stuff. But, at the end of the day, he confessed. He wrote it down. He put it in writing. This is what I'm doing. This is what I've done. This is why I did it. Here's all these reasons. And it's really a damning case, and it's not just the written confessions. It's also the mountain of forensic evidence too.
So much
we've
of
got
it.
Fingerprints,
bullets,
camera footage, just all kinds of stuff against him. So it's going to be really hard for the defense crowd to tackle this, because unless the police do something egregious to violate his rights in some type of way, that's just not going to help him.
Well. This is where I'm. Great that you pointed that out, Magnolia, because we'll take it back to the Richard Allen case, right? I've always thought Richard Allen was guilty, though during the course of the trial, my mind was shifting a little bit. I don't know why it did, but whatever. But, the argument was Richard Allen got put into a state prison, and then it turned into he's being tortured in state prison. I'm just wondering down the line, because I'm very concerned about him being held in SCI Huntingdon. Now, apparently, I guess they do that in Pennsylvania, put, pretrial inmates in state prison, whether it's to be extradited to another state or high profile, whatever. I'm just wondering down the line if it gets to the point where his defense attorneys or him start arguing, I was tortured in state prison, and that muddies the whole case, even though they already have a pretty solid case. But the fact that, all this torture in state and go down that avenue again, I hope not, I don't personally think he should be held in a state prison. I think they should put him right back in the county jail because the state prison, he's not convicted. Why is he sitting in a state prison?
Well, it sounds like that's something that they do there, and it could be that the issue specifically could be that he is awaiting extradition.
But he's also facing charges.
Have a different procedure, but you know what? It doesn't matter. You know why? Because Richard Allen, I think everyone agrees that Richard Allen's rights were violated by his conditions and the way he was treated. I don't think there's anyone, even you agree with that. And you think he's guilty. But guess what? At the end of the day, it didn't amount to a hill of beans. He was still found guilty.
But it was part of the trial. We
can go down this route. Oh, he shouldn't be held in state prison and his rights are being violated. But at the end of the day, that's not going to have an impact on whether he's found guilty or not. That's a different, that's a different thing.
Well, I'm making a prediction, Magnolia. I'm making a prediction. Down the line, not only on the mountains of evidence against him, but I believe authorities probably have been listening to his conversations while he's been in SCI Huntingdon and recorded. Those conversations getting recorded. And I have a feeling that they have statements where he's saying things on the phone to somebody close to him, family, and admitting. I have that feeling. That's going to come out that, he's going to have jailhouse calls. Now, the question is then maybe his lawyer's going to put an argument, well, he was held in solitary, and then have a whole hearing about solitary treatment and false confessions while in solitary and go down that avenue. As a way to smoke and mirrors.
That's just a complete waste of time, because it really doesn't matter if he confesses on the phone or not. He already wrote it down in his own writing.
True, but
they have a written. But
Magnolia,
multiple-page manifesto. They have a whole notebook with all of his reasons of why he did this. So it's already there. They don't. This isn't like Richard Allen.
Oh, he's in solitary.
And I hate that people are even bringing comparisons to Richard Allen, because this is nothing like Richard Allen. There are no comparisons here whatsoever. Richard Allen did not confess initially. He did not do any of those things. The only way he confessed was because of whatever he was going through in the prison. We already have this guy's confession. We already know that he did it. He said he did it. He feels like he's justified in doing it. So at this point, a lot of this stuff, he deserves to have his rights, in prison, and he shouldn't be mistreated and all those things, which I don't think that he will be. But I just don't think that that's going to work. That's not going to help his case in any way, because he's already convicted himself. with his own writings.
So, well, his own writings is actually, believe it or not, even though I say it's a confession, you think it's a confession, many people think it's a confession. Technically, it's not a confession, because a confession would be a written confession that police see the person writing down the story. So that it's not the same, though I do believe that is the manifesto, the 262-page document, is a form of confession and will be argued as a confession. But what they really want to get out of him is a confession. What they really want to get out of him is, in his own mouth, stuff. So I do think the phone calls, the jailhouse phone calls, will probably be on the police radar to listen in on his phone calls. And I have a feeling that this guy's hot-headed, maybe withdrawing from drugs, and he's going to talk. He's a talker. And I already think he already talked. I already think the time he got incarcerated, he's not been incarcerated before. These people don't understand. They go in there and they get on that phone. They yap away like a little birdie, a little tweet birdie, and they tweet away, and they talk. And I believe he contacted his family. I believe his family retained the lawyer for him. It wasn't him. I don't think it was supporters. I think it was his family that retained the attorney. He had to communicate with somebody. And I believe that, he had that phone call, and he had many phone calls, and he's talking. Now, going back to people saying in the chat, he's not in solitary confinement. And I kind of agree and I kind of disagree with that. He's definitely held in isolation away from the inmates. There is no way, shape, or form that he is even mingling with any convicted prisoners in SCI Huntingdon. There's no way. You can't do that. You can't put pretrial inmates with convicted inmates in a state prison. It's not happening. Now, they're claiming, according to Alex Caparello with News Nation, the DOC has told him that, told Caparello, according to his reports, that he's not held in the RHU, which is the restrictive housing unit, right? That is solitary confinement. And that very well might be true that he's not in the RHU, but he's definitely on some sort of isolation wing, maybe medical wing or some sort of isolation block, definitely away from all the other inmates. He is not interacting with any other inmates whatsoever. And he's being held in a cell. They're not putting him in general population, and he's not mingling around the prison. It's just no way. It's no way. I just wanted to put that out there. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but no way. There's just no way. They're not going to do that for liability purposes. You can't have a pretrial inmate walking around a state prison. Imagine if a state prisoner did something to him before he was even convicted, and he's in a state prison. I mean, that would be millions and millions of dollars of lawsuits right there. You can't put a pretrial inmate with state inmates and state, convicted state prison inmates in a prison before he's even convicted of anything.
Well, clearly you can.
No, they can, as far as safekeeping, guys under the safekeeping or holding, but he'd be definitely. Well, it's like Richard Allen.
That he can't be put in a state prison because that's exactly where he is.
I didn't say that. I said general population in a state prison. I didn't say that. Of course, he's in a state prison. I'm saying in general population in a state prison, it's not happening.
Well, no, he's not. He's in a cell by himself. He's not near the other inmates. He's being held pending extradition. So one thing about the phone calls, though, the prison phone calls that you were talking about, I actually wonder if he's had any calls at all, because aside from his attorney, because remember, he went for almost a year without talking to his family at all, or any friends or anyone. So I wonder if he's even talking to people at all on the phone.
He has to, because he got retained. A lawyer got retained. He didn't retain his lawyer. He didn't do it. Someone else is paying for that. Someone else arranged that.
His family could have called and got the attorney and sent the attorney down there to the courthouse, and the attorney shows up and say, "Hey, I'm your attorney."
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
He didn't necessarily have to interact with his family in order for that to happen. His family could have just contacted the attorney of their own volition and said, "Hey, can you help us? He's being held at Blair County Jail, and he has a hearing. Can you go down there?" And so the attorney comes down there, and he meets him for the first time at the extradition hearing.
Attorney Dickey, this is Mrs. Mangione. Can you go down there and please help my son? How much does it cost? Please, can you find out what's going on with my son? There you go.
Yeah, so I just wonder if he's having any conversations at all with his family, because he went dark for so long. Why would he suddenly talk to them after he's done something that brought shame on the family?
Well, his mom reported him missing just a week prior to him going to New York.
he may not even want to talk to them. So I don't know.
Oh, by the way, Magnolia, what's up with the report that we just played that law enforcement in San Francisco tipped off the FBI about him and recognized him? That's the first time I heard that.
Yeah, that was out there in California. They had reason to believe that he was in the San Francisco area, and I guess that's where the family had hired a private investigator, and they were searching for him out there, and I guess someone did recognize him at one point.
Well, why didn't that get back to NYPD? There must have been some sort of bureaucratic red tape, because NYPD clearly said that they didn't have this guy on the radar up to when he got arrested. They didn't even know about this guy. They didn't even know this guy existed. They didn't have this guy on their radar. So you got an officer out there in San Francisco that recognizes the wanted photo based off the mom reporting him missing, and then calls the FBI. When was that? When was that done? Prior to him being caught? I would think so, right?
Yeah, she reported him missing on November 18th, and this murder occurred on December 4th. So it would have been sometime in those 2 weeks.
No, but I'm saying after the crime occurred, then the officer, the way I heard it was the officer recognized the guy's face on TV and said, "Oh yeah, that's Luigi."
Yeah.
That's Luigi.
They said, actually, yeah, I remember that, and it was the day before.
The day before. And that didn't get to NYPD?
Right. I still don't believe that they didn't know his name.
They say they did.
But it's hard to believe that. And now that we know someone out in California actually recognized him the day before they caught him, it was the day before, so they caught him Monday, so I guess it would have been Sunday. There was some agent out in California that recognized him as Luigi. And then the next day is when he was captured. So you have to think that got back to the NYPD. It's hard to believe that they didn't know his name, especially now we know someone actually recognized him.
Yeah, because, maybe they're just saying that because they knew it and they would have got backlash if they would have claimed that they knew who he was but not put his image out there as if, isn't it law enforcement's responsibility as soon as they identify a wanted suspect in a very violent crime that they have to notify the public right away who the person is?
Probably.
I would think so, right? I think they have a moral, legal, and ethical obligation to inform the public once they get the identity revealed of an individual they're looking for. Because, why risk that? Because if lo and behold that they were keeping it a secret and Mr. Luigi was out there killing again, as they already knew the name, but they were just trying to keep quiet to not, tip him off or let him know that they know. That's pretty egregious.
Yeah.
It's scary. As soon as suspect gets identified, you put that photo out there and say, hey, we're looking for 26-year-old Luigi Nicholas Mangione, a.k.a. Pepperoni. He's out on the streets here, originally from Towson of San Francisco, Hawaii. This is the man we're looking for. All points bulletin.
Yeah, I'm also interested to know more about what he was doing in Japan earlier this year. What's that all about?
Yeah, I just think he's like
also
a traveler. I think he just uses the money to travel, and he travels to these exotic places.
Well, and he told his friend, so the friend I mentioned that ran into him in Baltimore in 2022, he mentioned that Luigi told him that he was just taking a break for a while. He wasn't working. He wasn't, he was just taking a break and not really doing anything at the time. So it seems like he sort of went wayward for the last couple of years. Yeah, traveling man. He's he's in Hawaii, he's in Baltimore, he's in Japan, he's in San Francisco. He's just all over the place. So he was wayward for some time, it sounds like. But yeah, it's just, I wonder also about the 3D printer. Like, where did he get access to a 3D printer, or does he own a 3D printer himself? Because it's not not everyone has a 3D printer. You know, I mean,
How much do they cost? Like, I don't know anything about building guns on 3D printers. How does that even work?
Well, 3D printers have been around for quite a while. I first came across one years ago in a randomly in a hardware store. They had a 3D printer, and they used it to make toys and replacement parts for things. Like if someone broke the handle off of their crock pot, they would print a new handle or whatever. And so that was the first time I had seen a 3D printer. But over the last 10 years or so, they've gotten more prevalent. Resting Grinch Face said, my son has one. We got it for $400. So, yeah, I mean, you can buy a 3D printer these days, but I'm just wondering, did he actually own one himself, or did he use someone else's printer?
Can you make unlimited guns off these printers? Like, how many guns can you make per printer? Like, can you keep making guns?
Yeah, you just have the materials in the machine. You just have to keep replacing the materials that it uses to create the item. But yeah, so
wait a minute. So someone can get a printer. Someone can get a printer, and they just start cranking out guns. Ghost guns? Yep. Really? That's crazy. I didn't know that. I'm not saying this rhetorical. I didn't know that, Magnolia. I didn't know that. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Well, 3D printers used to be where they weren't really everywhere. A lot of times you would really just see them in college settings. They would have them where you could go in and use the 3D printer. But, you know, now it's like you can actually just buy your own. But I'm just wondering if he owned it. And I also hope they find the 3D printer. That's what I hope they find.
Probably in his mom's house. Probably in his mom's house.
If they match it up or how that works. Well, I don't know, because he had been off the grid. He wasn't at his mom's house over the last year. And I don't think he printed the gun at his mom's house. I think he did all that in the last year when he was off the grid. He printed out the parts that he needed for the gun. He put it together, and he built a gun that he would then use, and a silencer. It was the gun parts that he printed, the suppressor, and he put it all together. And I'm just wondering where he did that. Where was he physically located when he did that? And was it his printer, someone else's printer? Did he borrow a printer? And can they find it and actually somehow match it up to the gun itself? Not that they need to do that, but because there's plenty of other evidence, but it would be interesting if they do uncover that.
Look at Luigi's mom. Did you know she owns a boutique company? Did you know she owns a boutique company, boutique travel company? She was seen with his mom. She was seen with Vincent DePaul at a 216 event for the Italian Trade Commission in New York. Right. No, I just thought that was interesting that she operates a boutique travel company. It's clearly that Mr. Luigi, I think he's a mama's boy. I really think he's a mama's boy. I really think that his mom has been coddling him, enabling him, and shielding him, and providing him everything he wanted all his life. Mm-hmm. Mom, I want this. Mom, I want that. All the way up to when the mom reported him missing.
Yeah.
Mom definitely involved in his life like that. Definitely. I don't see any abandonment issues. I really don't know if he's estranged from his, like you said, he kind of ghosted his family, but that could be just because the dude is just a wackadoodle. I mean, you know, sometimes just because everything is provided to you doesn't mean you don't do bad things. Mm-hmm. You know, the rich do bad things and the poor do bad things. You know, it's just, you know, a combination of things. Now, not that this is relevant, but I do want to share this photo here that's circulating because, you know, a lot of people were talking about, you know, his love life, right? His love life. And they were talking about, where's his girlfriend? How come there hasn't been any girls that have come out and, you know, said anything?
I've never heard of him having a girlfriend. Have you?
No, but people are circulating this picture right here. and suspecting, this one right here, suspecting that he was actually had a boyfriend. He was gay. Have you heard that? Yeah. I've heard that he possibly could be gay. Not that it matters. Again, I'm just trying to point out a little bit about him, but you know, people are saying that, you know, there's a lot of the pictures that he's, you know, affiliated with are hanging around with a bunch of bros.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that we've never heard anything about a girlfriend. I mean, we've heard people say that he was a charming ladies' man or something. We've heard some anecdotes like that, but I've never heard of a girlfriend either from high school or college or beyond. In any of his travels in Hawaii, I don't think we've heard anything about a girlfriend. So I think that may be another narrative that sort of took off, and people just assumed that he was a ladies' man. I don't think we've really seen evidence of that yet. And I think a lot of people might just think that because, you know, he's attractive, according to some people think he's attractive, and they just assume that he must have had a lot of girlfriends or something like that.
I mean, he was. They say he was flirting with the hostel clerk.
Yes,
Pull down
the
the
girl at the desk. Yeah, we heard that. And then we've heard people say, "Oh, he was charming, ladies' man," type of thing. But as far as there hasn't been any girlfriend who's come out and said anything about him. So we don't really know. And that's just another thing that I think was overblown, where the guy in Hawaii was like, oh, he was very concerned about not being able to have a relationship or have intimate partners and things like that because of his back. I don't know. I don't put a lot of stock into that anymore.
Yeah, interesting. I do want to play a clip. Also, our friend Justin from TikTok was talking to Ashley Banfield about the case a little bit, and he was you know, and he's really good at sleuthing. Justin's good. We've had conversations with him before, both on our channel and his channel, and he actually talked to Ashley Banfield yesterday, and some of the stuff, you know, that he's been saying, I guess he's uncovered the same things that we've learned about this guy, as far as, you know, a silver spoon in his mouth. You know, him being rich. I do want to play that clip, so I'm gonna call you right back, Magnolia. Okay. And share Justin from TikTok. Our friend got to speak with Ashley. If you haven't subbed up to Justin, he does great work on TikTok. Check this out right here.
I want to bring in Justin Shepard. He's a true crime influencer who's better known as Just in the Nick of Time. And he's just great with the details. Nothing seems to escape you, Justin. It's good to have you on the program. Thanks for doing this. Let's talk about Grandma's will for a hot minute. This I did not see coming, that Grandma would have possibly foreseen something like this. Who puts this kind of thing in their will? Have you learned anything more about the will, the family, and this whole situation?
Well, first, thank you for having me again. It's great to be here. And yeah, I saw that too. And I don't know if I've learned anything new per se, but yeah, it's an ironclad. It said something along the lines of if any of the heirs commit violent or heinous crimes, then they would no longer be entitled to the money. And like you said, it's kind of an odd thing to put in there. We're seeing that could happen. I really don't know what to make of that. The family has a lot of money. We've heard numbers as low as, when I say low, as 30 million, but as high as 100 million. So you're talking about a lot of money that he's got on the line here.
Yeah, from what I've been able to research, it looks like they, you know, had some property, something called Turf Valley Resort and Hayfields Country Club, as well as radio stations, maybe plural, WCBM AM. They certainly did have a lot of assets. Maybe they still do. I don't know. 10 kids and then untold number of grandchildren that Luigi would be part of. But this is the kind of kid who went to University of Pennsylvania, Ivy League. He could have gone to law school. He could have gone to law school and really taken up the charge if this was his cause célèbre.
Absolutely, he could have. And I think also they own some nursing homes as well, just to remind you on that. But yeah, the family's got a lot of money that he had. He was born with a silver spoon. You know, he's obviously very intelligent, graduated valedictorian from a private school, like expensive private school. went to an Ivy League school, graduated from there. He could have gone to law school, like you said. He could have then gone into politics and made a difference that way versus this way, because now any opportunity he has for that is very likely gone once the conviction occurs.
Yeah, I would say it's gone. Just gone completely. Yeah. I'm going to just lay it on the line. I think there's going to be a conviction. The mountain of evidence is just so overwhelming. It's almost literally a smoking gun. I got to ask you about this detail today that I didn't know about, and that is that apparently Luigi was turned away from a Pennsylvania hotel. The clerk said he was cagey. What's the background? Which part of his journey did this happen in, and what transpired?
Yeah, so it seems that what happened was he tried to check into a hotel in Altoona, and I believe this was the day that he actually got arrested. And he went in there pretty early in the day and asked if he could get a room. And he was told that all the rooms that they had were dirty, and he could come back later and they would have a room available. He apparently asked if he could wait for one, and the guy basically said, the front desk said no, because he didn't know how long it would be, which is what then led him to leave, I think, and ultimately go to McDonald's. But as I understand it, he didn't want to identify himself. He didn't want to pull his mask down. But that's, I think, what they mean by cagey on it. And that's ultimately what led him to McDonald's. I think that, they would have eventually caught up with him. But I think had he been able to check in and go into a room at that time, there might still be a manhunt for him.
Interesting.
You have a lot of followers in Just in Time, and so I'm wondering what a lot of your followers are saying about this conspiracy theory that seems to be spreading online, that they got the wrong guy, and add to that while you're answering how this really seems to have united two, factions of society that have been at each other's throats, the left and the right.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So the sentiment online about why, the conspiracy that they don't have the right guy, I don't know I think that it stems from photographs and thinking like, well, this looks different. And I think that personally, I think it's the same person in all of them, but a lot of people don't think that based on eyebrows or based on little features here and there. As far as the uniting of the right and the left, yeah, it's really kind of crazy. The sentiments, look, we've talked about this before, Ashley. I don't condone murder. You don't condone murder. But, at the same time, there isn't a lot of love loss here for Brian Thompson. He's looked upon, regardless of what happened, as a villain by a large portion of the people who are online and even, not online. And Luigi's being looked at as more of a martyr.
Thanks for watching. Go to join.
Pretty good. Justin, great analysis. And Justin shared something that I was not aware of. A lot of the stuff that he was saying, though, we were echoing as far as Silver Spoon, family businesses, and whatnot. But one key information that Justin shared, which is very interesting, was the morning he got caught. Apparently, he was trying to check in a hotel in the morning and got turned away. Or, you can't really check in hotels in the morning anyway. Don't they have a check-in time at like 3 p.m., 4 p.m., something like that? And a lot of, sometimes hotels will let you check in a little bit early, even sometimes if you pay a little bit extra, an early check-in fee. But I don't think you can check in a hotel for that day at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. I would think maybe at the earliest, if they already have rooms available, they might let you get in there, slide in there at 12. They might let you go in the morning if you have to pay for that extra day or something like that. I don't know, but that's interesting because what we shared on JLR Investigates was, why in the world would he go to McDonald's? And the fact that an employee, or not an employee, a person said they saw him in Altoona 2 days prior outside the Sheets in that area, I was like, he had to have stayed in a hotel in that area. I was thinking the Comfort Inn. The Comfort Inn, which was like literally just a little less than a quarter mile away from where that McDonald's is. I'm just wondering if that morning of the crime, or that morning he got picked up, if he tried to check into the Comfort Inn or one of those nearby hotels. I think there was a Microtel there and a Comfort. And, you're not going to check in that early. So he does raise a great point. What if, folks, he was able to check in a hotel and never went to the McDonald's? Mr. Luigi could still be out on the loose right now. He could still be out on the loose. But as Ashley Banfield said, there is mountains and mountains of evidence against this guy. And we'll play one more clip and bring Magnolia in the chat. But this is this is News Nation speaking to a lawyer. It's a slam dunk case. This is what this law. It's more or less a slam dunk case. I don't see any type of reasonable doubt here that would help this guy whatsoever. There is mountains and mountains of evidence. This is a no-brainer. You got to plea. You got to take a plea. Take a plea. But what to take a plea of what, though?
Trial attorney Mark Eiglarsh, he cut his legal teeth as a prosecutor in Miami-Dade County, and he's here with me now. So officially, this is, in legal terms called a stinker, full of bad facts. But it's more than just bad facts. It's got an actual smoking gun. Eiglarsh, what do you do with this case if you're a defense attorney? Is there anything that you can bring into a courtroom?
Absolutely. No, I run to the closest sporting goods store. I ask where the knee pad sections are. I put those on, and I go stand in front of the prosecutor, and I fall to my knees, and I beg for second-degree murder. That's it. I mean, that's really the magic. And when the prosecutor says no, you file your motions to suppress, meaning alleging that they might have obtained some of this incriminating evidence in violation of his constitutional rights. And when that doesn't work, you're forced to go to trial, and likely he will be convicted.
The weird thing is the arrest was, legit, and the evidence was on his person, and pat-downs are part of the Fourth Amendment. I mean, that's not unreasonable search and seizure when somebody identifies someone, and the pat-down is right there on the site. They didn't go into an apartment and get the manifesto. In New York, it's already second degree, which is kind of weird anyway. But I thought you were going to say fall on your knees and beg for a plea deal. Is that not what they might be doing?
Yeah, no, I'm begging for a second-degree murder, a reduction from what will be a first-degree murder indictment. It's not going to stay at second. This was planned. They're going to upgrade it to first. And then you're going to beg for second to get maybe 15 to 40-year range as opposed to mandatory life without any parole.
I mean, this was an execution, So here's the other thing. I don't think you can even pull the whole diminished capacity or I was at my breaking point because my health insurance, because it turns out he wasn't even a client of this, of United Healthcare.
Yeah, let's break this down. I don't want to take away from you analyzing it for weeks and looking into the minutia, but here's the bottom line. And I know lawyers who've been interviewed by family members, and if they're being honest, they're telling them, there's really nothing I can do for you if you're defining winning by getting him anything other than life. He's going to get life. The evidence is overwhelming, assuming what we're hearing is true and presumption of innocence and all that stuff, yada, yada. But if it really did occur the way we're hearing, the only thing missing is a busload of nuns who saw him do it. Otherwise, this is a slam dunk case for prosecutors.
Yep, slam dunk, layup, you name it. That's kind of what I thought you'd say. Mark, I always love having you on. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Slam dunk case. Let's get Magnolia back in. It is a slam dunk case. And then I'm gonna get Magnolia's take on the individual that just got arrested in Florida. As we titled this video Copycat. Did you hear that, Magnolia? Slam dunk case, right?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of went through a lot of the stuff we were talking about earlier, which is, his rights and his constitutional rights and things like that. But, in this case, they don't have to pull any tricks or stunts or do anything funny here because he gave them the whole case on a silver platter. So, I don't think that that's a concern. The attorney there said, that's gonna fail if they try to go down that route. It's probably going to fail, but they will try, and that's the job of the defense attorneys, to go down every avenue they can, and I expect that'll happen. They'll probably try to fight certain things. They'll try to keep certain things from being admissible in court, but ultimately it will fail, like that attorney said, and he'll be convicted. I still think down the line somewhere, they're going to upgrade this to first degree.
Yes, and I want to go talk to you about that. We got a couple comments, if you don't mind me reading them, Magnolia, or you want me to read them?
Well, Johnny and June said, take Magnolia out for lunch, JLR.
Nice. Thank you very much, Johnny and June. And then we also have another, and we had maybe some comments before, but they kind of went past the screen. So some gave all. We've been glued to this channel daily. Keep us informed with the news we can use. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, we're throwing out what's being put out there, and we have our opinions, we have our take on this case. You might not agree with it, right? You might agree with some of it, might disagree with all of it. This is a conversation. Now, Magnolia, going back to this individual here, right? She's charged with a crime. She's charged with a crime with almost like a terrorism enhancement, correct?
Yes.
For making that threat of, delay, deny, depose. She used the word delay, deny, depose. You people are next.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if she's going to be in Florida and she's going to be charged with a terrorism type enhancement, you would have think that Mr. Luigi would get his case upgraded to first-degree murder based off terrorism, correct?
Yeah, and that's the one that we pointed to yesterday. And I also saw Bob Mata, again, he's Defense Diaries. He said the same thing. It's likely that they will point to it's subsection 13 in the New York murder statutes that says it can be first-degree murder if it's determined that it's a terroristic threat or in furtherance of an act of terrorism, basically is what the way it's worded. Now, the lady in Florida, her charge is specifically making terroristic threats. That's what she's charged with. There's not I don't think there's an enhancement or anything like that. I think it's just straight up making terroristic threats. So yeah, I mean, this is a little bit of foreshadowing, I think, when we look at the Luigi case in New York, when he gets extradited to New York, which will happen. He's fighting it, but he'll eventually be in New York. And the prosecutors can explore those enhancements, and I fully expect it because, and I would say the main reason is because he didn't just kill Brian Thompson. He launched an entire movement of people who are now copying him. He launched this thing where now people are putting wanted posters of other CEOs. These are terroristic things that are coming about because of what he did. So it's not just that he went down the street and shot a random person. That's not what we're talking about here. He specifically wanted to terrorize the insurance industry and CEOs across the board. That's what his intent was with writing the words on the bullets, the things he said in the manifesto.
Well,
so that's why I think that that's coming for him.
Well, they're actually saying an indictment is imminent on him. An indictment to further help them, speed up the extradition process. Now, in an indictment, I'm thinking the indictment will transform from second-degree murder to first-degree murder based off the terrorism aspect.
It's happening, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think this indictment, when it comes down, it's going to be first-degree murder.
Yeah, one way or another, that's what he's going to be facing. Just because, I think a lot of the Luigi fans out there are clinging to the second-degree murder and saying, "Oh, well, he'll get out one day." But it's just not realistic. That's what the charge is for now. But yeah, they can convene a grand jury. They can get an indictment. One way or another, he's facing first degree.
So they say that the Blair County Judge David Consiglio, Italian, scheduled a hearing in Pennsylvania on December 30th in response to Mangione's petition for writ of habeas corpus and bail. So it seems like, because there's two hearings coming up, one on the 23rd of December, which is his preliminary hearing based off the local charges, the gun, the providing Officer Fry, the fraudulent ID. So he has local charges. He has a preliminary hearing December 23rd, right before Christmas. Now, I 100% guarantee his lawyer is waiving that. There's no way they're going to even have that. It's not happening. It's going to be waived. It will probably be waived the last second or even beforehand. That's being scrapped. I see no point of having a preliminary. Zero.
No.
And then you have that December 30th. So there's a process with this extradition. He's challenging extradition. That hearing's going to be interesting because that will be determined. They'll put their arguments. The defense will put their arguments. The prosecution will put their arguments. And the judge will ultimately decide, I guess, whether he gets extradited or not. I don't know how that works. I'm still a little confused because every state's different in the way their extradition process. But it looks like he will, that court hearing, I believe he will be back in court physically on the 30th. You want to go?
Yeah, if it happens.
We should go. We should go out there and, try to interact with Luigi when he's being brought in, have some things to say. I got some things to say to Luigi. I have some boots on the ground things to say to Luigi. Oh, I have my opinion. My opinion. But, other than that, I mean, there's really, I'm looking around. So let me ask you just one thing going back to this individual. And we started out talking about her. What do you, based off what, she's accused of doing, what would you think, just, without really knowing really much more deeper about it, what do you think the appropriate sentence is for what she did?
I don't know. What is the minimum on that charge?
I don't know the minimum, but the maximum is 15 years.
Yeah, they'll get 15 years, but no, it's Florida. It's Polk County.
You don't play in Polk County.
So I don't know. I don't think her chances are too good here, but maybe less than 15 years, 5 years. I don't know.
You think 5 years for doing that? If they lump her in synonymous with the crime in New York.
Well, listen, here's the thing. They cannot have this. They cannot have people doing this. You can't have an entire segment of society running around threatening to kill people.
Well, it's like mass shootings.
It can't happen.
It's like,
so you cannot do a slap on the wrist here. I'm sorry. I don't think you can. I think with this woman, I think she just shot her mouth off probably on that phone call. She thought she was being cool and whatever, and she was angry and shot her mouth off, slammed the phone down, whatever. But you can't just give someone like this a slap on the wrist, because that will tell other people that, oh, well, I can just do this and I'll just get probation. It's no big deal. And so then you have even more copycats come out. So you have to draw the line somewhere, and there has to be some type of accountability. Otherwise, you have a lawless country. You have people running around threatening to kill people all over the place. And that's just not a road that we need to go down. So I think she will get some prison time. I mean, and it's Sheriff Grady. I mean, come on. We all know what that means.
Well, I want to point out that Sheriff Grady did not make the arrest, because if Sheriff Grady made the arrest, we'd be having an epic press conference, by the way.
I hope
if Sheriff Grady had a press conference on her, he'd be coming out into the middle of the podium and placing her mugshot down and goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have an issue here." And then he had to come with this whole storyline, Grady Judd, and go, and she's a mother and she should know better. She's tending her kids at her house and she's making threats, and he would just totally shame her to the next stratosphere.
I wonder if he will do a press conference on this.
Well, it's Lakeland. It's Lakeland Police. This is Lakeland Police that charged her in Polk County. So
arrested her?
Yeah, this is out of Polk County Sheriff's hands. Otherwise, she would have been absolutely she would have been destroyed, literally, on national TV.
She would have been roasted.
She'd have been roasted, man. His press conferences are epically epic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sheriff Grady, FBI director. No, that's what a lot of people were like. Sheriff Grady should be the FBI director. Interesting. Well, let me.
Someone else earlier in the chat made a really good comment, though. NorCal Jim pointed out again. This is something that we haven't talked about too much, but Luigi was on the phone before he killed Brian Thompson. He was on a phone call.
With who?
So who was he talking to?
Her?
I think that's going to be an interesting thing, too, that'll come out in the investigation, because they did recover that phone, it sounds like. And, so that sort of that's a detail that we don't really talk about too much, but when he says in his manifesto, I did this alone, I acted alone, the fact he's on the phone right before the murder, coupled with the knowledge that he was going no contact with his family and everyone he knew, you really have to wonder then, who was he talking to? Who could he possibly have been talking to right before he decides to commit a murder?
No.
You know, so I think that's another good question. And I'll be interested if we hear about that. It may not be something that comes out till trial or something, but they'll find out who he was on the phone with. And I wonder if it'll throw water on his claim that he did this alone.
Ooh, oh my goodness. Imagine if it was a conspiracy. Imagine if we got multiple people involved here. Imagine. Kind of scary, Magnolia. You know, one thing I just want to say, too, going back to her and Copycats, you know, there's reports that the Altoona Police Department themselves are getting threatened. I mean, the officers, they're getting threats via email. They're getting threats of calls. People are calling. People are making written threats to the Altoona Police Department for arresting this guy. Like, are people crazy or what? I don't get it. Why people are just so wild to defend this guy.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes no sense. You know, I don't know. Why are people risking their own freedoms by threatening McDonald's workers at that McDonald's in Altoona? And if we go to Altoona, I want to go eat that McDonald's and show support. I want to go to the McDonald's and eat to show support for the employees, whatever like that. And whoever, we'll find the elderly couple that turned them in. Maybe we'll give them a nice little, some JLR merch or something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll give them some JLR merch. We'll take some merch up there.
Well, they also said that the police officers who made the arrest were getting threatened.
Yes, police officers, McDonald's workers who had to take off work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, come on, man. Come on. I mean,
and the bad reviews, like it's just ridiculous.
It's crazy. But other than that, I don't see anything else new. I was trying to see if we forgot something. I'm looking at my command center. Oh, by the way, there's still merchandise, Luigi merchandise that's up there. This is sick stuff, but Etsy and different things. Look at this. Free Luigi. Don't deny my coverage. Look at that. Like, don't tread on me. Don't deny my coverage. In this house, Luigi Mangione is a hero. End of story. Luigi shirts. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is CEO Hunter. That's insane, Magnolia.
Ew.
There's merch sites all over the place. Like, people are literally like, you know, people that are against capitalism or healthcare are making money, profiting off this crime.
Yeah, but I think that I think Etsy and other places are taking those down as fast as they can. It seems like they are trying to mitigate some of this, but you know, they keep popping up all over the place, and it's really easy to make merchandise. So we do see that all the time. But yeah, I don't know if these people in society are just bored and this is exciting to them to latch on to something like this. I don't really know, but someone else pointed out, Randy Valen pointed out, you know, Bundy had a lot of female groupies too. So Luigi's not the first. He probably won't be the last. Brian Koberger has his own little fan club too. That's just the way it goes, right?
Yeah. So you're gonna get people, but you know, you have a conversation with each and every one of the supporter, and their brains are just as fried as this guy's. Just as fried brain as this guy's. Wade Wilson, another one. People are supporting this Wade Wilson guy from Florida with the tats all over him. Sick.
Yeah, and it's. I think it's a lot of it is people that have a tendency to blame others for their own problems in life. People that have a victim mentality that we see so much these days. You know, they see everything as the system is against them and everyone's working against them, and they're incredibly angry at wealthy people. They hate wealthy people. They hate CEOs and things like that. CEOs, though, to me, I'm sure many people in the chat have worked in corporate America, as I have years ago. I hate to say it, but the CEOs aren't always like, I don't know how to word this. A lot of times the CEOs don't even really know a lot about how the company operates. Like, for example, if you took Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, and sat him down in a cubicle and had him do the job of one of the people who works at United Healthcare making $50,000 a year, he wouldn't be able to do it. He wouldn't know where to start. Do you think Brian Thompson would have any clue how to sit down at a desk and process a claim? No. He doesn't know how to do that stuff. CEOs are not, they put these people on a pedestal as if they're like these grand overlords and they're, all this kind of stuff, which I know Brian Thompson is blamed for the AI denials of claims and different things like that. But usually they're not like the smartest people in the room. Let's put it that way. They're not always the smartest people in the room. The people who were in charge of the companies that I worked at, they couldn't do the everyday job of the rank and file workers in the company. They couldn't do it. They would not be capable of it because it's not like they're geniuses or anything like that. I mean, CEOs are people who walk around in a suit and they project a certain air of confidence. And they're usually, like you could see Brian Thompson. I mean, just look at him. I mean, he's a guy, he presents himself a certain way. He walks around in a suit and he's, he may, every once in a while, he may pop in to one of the facilities and have a meeting and talk to employees. But a lot of times in these companies, you never even meet the CEO. You don't know. People who work at United Healthcare don't know this guy from Adam.
Never heard of him.
CEO. He's just the guy that's on the company emails, so just this idea that this is all Brian Thompson's fault and this is all the CEO's fault. Well, it's not. I mean, Brian Thompson chose to climb the corporate ladder. Some people choose to do that. And a lot of times it's white men who progress in those positions. That's just reality. That's just what it is. So, to say that all of these things and all of the problems in the healthcare industry and the insurance industry falls on a CEO is just extremely ignorant, in my opinion.
Well said, Magnolia. All right, fine. Any final words? Final words. Good luck, Miss Briana. Briana, good luck, Boston. Don't be like her. Don't be a copycat. It's not worth it. If you have anger management problems and things don't go your way, try to find a coping mechanism, but lashing out and saying words is not the solution. Bite your hand. If you're mad or something, you want to just bite your hand, walk away, play with some Play-Doh or something, hold something, take some anger management classes and learn coping mechanisms, because by saying things, your words could get you in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate the chat, Magnolia. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
You have a great day, Magnolia. Me and Magnolia work in this case 24/7, 365. If anything else breaks on this case, I think we updated. We will keep you informed. I'm sure we'll be back tomorrow with more stuff on this. Maybe later on today. Maybe there'll be press conferences, anything related to this case. You will hear it here on JLR Investigates. You guys have a good morning, everyone. Take care of yourself. We got a lot of, I just want to jump on and talk about a few other topics. We are looking into the drone stuff in New Jersey. I know some people in the chat saw our live last night. That piques my interest here. I want to know what these things are, particularly listening to some follow-up interviews and hearing about possibly these drones used for terroristic attacks. this is scary. I do think that these drones should be taken seriously. I do think the government, and we're going back to the drone. We made this thumbnail yesterday. Did you like my intro yesterday when I started out going, woo, like all types of UFO stuff? But I think this is a serious matter, and I think a lot of people are concerned. I don't think they're commercial planes. I think there's a lot more to it. So we're following that. We're looking into Mayor Adams of New York. We've been covering the border migrant stuff. And yesterday, Adams and Tom Homan met each other. And oh my gosh, it seems like they're all 100% on the same page and they have a game plan. So Adams is talking about, these criminals are going to start being locked up in New York City. And he's kind of going against his city council. It seems like Adams is saying, I have the power to implement the law. And he might be doing some executive orders and things like that. So that will be interesting. We'll talk about that in a bit. I am interested knowing the names of the 1,500 pardons and sentences, commutations that Joe Biden gave. Did you hear about all those pardons? Some of the pardons that he was giving were some very shady people that have done some serious damage on society. So we'll talk a little bit about those pardons too. So we got some conversations going. We'll keep it going. We cover true crime 24/7, 365, and who knows what else will pop up. But you will hear it here on JLR Investigates. Thanks for watching. We just crossed 2 hours. 2 hours. If you guys were here the whole time, I appreciate all of you. Thank you for the support. Thank you, members, subs, and everyone. Keep the conversation going. Let's hear your opinion. Keep them coming. All right, folks. Have a good day. JLR Investigates. Stay safe, everyone.